Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome back to Aquarius Rising Africa. And I have to say, Rosebud, your comment definitely has caught my eye. Before I even go ahead, just like talking about watching a huge snowstorm from under the blanket. Well, wherever you are, I hope you guys are enjoying it. That's really cool. Enjoy the snowstorm. Enjoy the show. We've got some cool things coming up. So, happy Monday, by the way, everybody. Welcome back to Aquarius Rising. I hope you all had a fantastic weekend. And yeah, Beverly's in the background. We're going to be doing the final installment of the Royals this week. So, looking specifically at Andrew at the moment as well. He's the fall guy. He's got to go to the States. He doesn't want to go there. He's scared he's not going to come back. But I know Beverly has lots of information around that. So stay tuned. But before we do so, I've got some great news lined up for you all. Okay, let's just put up the schedule and we'll go through the schedule for the week. Okay, so tonight, Beverly and I. Guys, okay, so tomorrow, Solutions with Chanti at 11:11. It's 11:11 tomorrow. It's explaining the Ankara field, which really is the field of resonance. It's the field of undoing what has been done, flipping the grid, so to speak. So it's taking us into that awareness of how we really get out of the matrix. And I don't use those words there, but it's all about resonance, vibration, humming, using your voice, all these amazing things. So check that out. Tomorrow we're dropping part 3 and we're talking about the diamond door. And then, of course, guys, yes, here it is. Tomorrow on Solutions with Chanti. So if you guys have not subscribed to that channel yet, do so now, because you all know that it's been around for a while, but it's been more my backup channel as well, and done more the healing stuff on there. But sort of decided to do a whole relaunch on it now, and working with stuff that is really spiritually orientated. Aquarius Rising Africa is all about exposing the underbelly of the world and sharing inconvenient truths. Solutions is where we find healing and we find resolution. So Beverly and I are starting, called Spiritual Forensics tomorrow night on Solutions with Chanti. That's going to be at 7:30 Central Africa time, and I think that's 5:30 GMT. And we are talking about the Oscar Pistorius and Reeva Steenkamp case. But when Beverly comes on now, we're going to talk more about that as well. And then, of course, Wednesday morning, live with Rachel Vaughan from Australia. And that's going to be 10 o'clock Central Africa time. So join us for that. Always a wealth of information with that lovely lady. Then, of course, Wednesday, Double Trouble with Jessie again. Join us for that. We are looking at part 2 of Harry Potter. Excuse me. And we're doing a deep dive into Bad Bunny. So let's have a look. And then Dennis Carroll back with us again on Thursday. Yay. And Friday, starting again with Drop In with Chanti. So join us at 2 o'clock Central Africa time, where I just kind of chat about things I've seen this week, doing some drop-ins on Africa, what is happening in Africa at the moment as well. Lots of stuff happening here, lots of energy. So would love to share with you guys little things that are happening here. And then, of course, Saturday, Solutions with Chanti is the rehum. So playing again past episodes, as is Sunday Loop. So that's on Aquarius Rising Africa. Whew, a busy week. I feel like I'm out of breath. My word. But I am not finished yet. We have book club with Gary Wayne coming up. So, wow, guys, join us for that on the 19th of November. That's Wednesday. And I think it's 7 o'clock. I'll double check with all the time changes, Central Africa time. So this is for members and Patreon book club. It's going to be on Patreon. So, or on Zoom rather. So it's live on Zoom. And what happens is I send you a link, if you're a member or Patreon, and then you join us for the book club. Gary will be reading chapter 2, or the first 2 chapters of his book, rather, Genesis 6. And then you can ask him questions. We can discuss the book with the author. Super exciting. So please join our members club or Patreon. And if you are a member and you'd like to join, please send us an email with your name, your username, all of that, so that we can send you a link. Mornay does put out all those details, so please check that out. And then, of course, tomorrow night, we have spiritual forensics. And we're talking men, money, and models. So our spotlight, our magnifying glass, looks at Oscar and Reeva. So we're going to be looking more at the spiritual connotations. Obviously, lots of what Beverli knows happening behind the scenes with these situations. And then we're just going to basically be giving you our commentary on that. So, hello, Beverli.
Hello. Very exciting. Exciting times ahead. Oh my goodness.
It is, isn't it? We've got so much in store and there's so much planned.
Yeah,
so,
there is.
Yay.
It's going to be great. And I've started doing the work already on the Pistorius energy. And I'm looking at the previous Reeva energy and looking at all of those that were, and it looks a little bit like an octopus at the moment with all these chutas and energies coming in. So it is going to be significant. And I think the more I start delving in and doing the deep dive, it's going to be even more interesting. So yeah, tomorrow is going to be a great show.
Well, I want to just maybe before we even start tonight, I'd like to maybe for us to explain why we're actually doing this as well, and then why it's on SOULutions. Because as we're looking at, I mean, if you guys have joined SOULutions and have started following my videos on the Ankara field and what it is, we understand it's about healing and resolution and resonance, right? And we cannot heal that which we don't acknowledge. As long as something is left rotting under the carpet, it's going to create damage. Part of that is reclaiming our symbolism that so many people deem to be evil and bad, and it's this and that and that and that. That's what they want us to believe. So part of our journey is reclaiming our symbols and understanding how to reclaim our symbols and how God actually speaks to us in symbols. And they've taken that and inverted that. We've spoken about that a lot. Yeah. And we are showing you how to uninvert that. This is a practical resurrection of what's been inverted. And along with that comes our spiritual gifts. Beverli and I have both been born with spiritual gifts. I mean, you guys know that about me because I'm a healer and stuff, but I don't really talk about that much on the channel because I'm more a host for the survivors, yeah. But we all have spiritual gifts, and that is our birthright. And again, we have been taught that they are evil. I mean, I cannot tell you the trauma I went through as a kid, being told by everyone, not my family, but by those that were not my family, that I was a child of the devil and Jesus hated me because I could see beyond the veils. So there's a lot of kids who have that, and there's a lot of kids who are shamed, humiliated, whatever it is, made to feel that there's something wrong with them. So immediately, but that's part of what the dark energies want us to feel and think. So we've been indoctrinated with that nonsense. What we are doing here is we're shedding light on what we can see with our God-given gifts and trying to show what's been hidden. Now, are we going to get it right 100%? I don't know. Are we going to? I don't know. But join us on this journey. Give us your insight. Ask questions as we go along.
Yeah.
Because it really is, I'm an Aquarian. I'm a double Aquarian. I love community. I love to work with people. I'm not a boss. I'm the worst boss ever. I'm a terrible boss. But I love to work with people where we co-create together and we all kind of lift the veils of deception together. And we start seeing together, because the more voices that hum together, the more we heal, the more the original hexagonal geometry, which is the original geometry of this planet, everything is created from that, right? We go back to that original blueprint of who we are, and then we start remembering. We really start remembering who we are. And when we remember that, we then see it so natural to be able to read each other's thoughts telepathically, because there's nothing to hide, actually. And if you want privacy, you don't go it's like, as somebody, you don't go into someone else's house uninvited unless you intend to do harm, right? So you respect someone's boundaries. You understand that people will invite you in. You don't force yourself in. We are giving permission. We're inviting. We're offering. That's what it is. So it's a community. Aquarius Rising and Solutions is all about community. We're learning together. Beverli and I are going to be doing workshops. We're going to be doing masterclasses. I'm going to be interviewing a whole lot of other survivors on their healing post SRA. So we're talking just just the healing. And hopefully everyone can gain from that as well. So this is really the bridge that takes us to the next level. Don't invite me unless there are snacks. Don't worry, Akana. I feel Akana.
Oh, I'm going to look in the comments. Oh, she's terrible. Don't invite me unless there's snacks. Yeah, it's a snack Kwana, so it's her second name. Oh, Lord.
Yeah, exactly. Aquana, you must be a Taurus. I mean, exactly those Taurians, if ever munching. We're hungry. Or we're eating comfort food, right?
This is it. Oh, my goodness. How funny is that? Yeah, and I think also when you start looking at the energy too, with what we're talking about in solutions, the 3i Atlas actually started downloading a lot of the energetic codes into the sun when it was behind the sun. Because some individuals, and part of the download I received was that it's only about 52 to 55% of the Earth's population that have got to a point where they're sufficiently awakened so that they can absorb those codes. So 3i Atlas, obviously the inhabitants put the energies into the sun so that as the sun's rays very carefully filter down onto the Earth's surface, those various codes can come down very softly and go onto our skin, and we can actually absorb them. Because part of the issue was there's only just a little bit over 50%. The rest of the individuals will find it very difficult. So you will see that individuals that have not awakened fully, they will find it quite difficult. They will find it quite difficult to be able to awaken, but also to deal with the 3i Atlas energy. Plus, remember, that energy is also going out to the Alawan, the Bigfoot, all these other amazing cryptids that are walking amongst us at the moment, as well as those beings that are already walking, the star people that are already here. So there's different levels of energy. I found that very interesting. So we've got that to look forward to too.
Absolutely. Akon, I love your comment. Thank you. It so is. I love that. I'm just, I'm such a pushover when it comes to that. So everyone in here, thank you for being part of this amazing community. I love what you're saying about that, though, because it's so true. You know, a lot of negativity has been spoken about through our Atlas as well. But we must never forget Earth is about duality. There's never just one thing coming in, people. Now, yes, there's the dark side of the system that has the light and the dark within it, right? They have what they call the light side of the system, which is all sorts of manipulation tactics disguised as honor, and it's not that. We have to discern between that and what is real and what is true. And that's through our discernment. And yes, for me, there's no other way. We have to have done the shadow work on ourselves.
Yep.
We have to choose to realize we need to be sovereign. There's not a church or a human being or anyone that has that grip or control over you that tells you you have to think this or you have to do that. Because as long as you're in that state, you are in handcuffs. You can't move freely. So we have to understand as well, as we awaken to that, our sovereignty, so we can then receive the codes that 3i Atlas is sending us. They don't force us to take codes. Let's remember that again. Yep. They make it available to us. They offer it. It's up to us if we choose to receive it or use it. That's always your choice. We must never, ever forget that. People come in with so much fear and say, oh, they're doing... No, fear's from the dark nest. Any of you who've read my book so far knows what the dark nest is. That's the dark hive, okay? And they will create fear, but that is really your opportunity to transform alchemy, spiritual alchemy. It is so here. That opportunity is so here for us now. So when we've done the work, when we've done what we need to do, when we open and we using spiritual discernment, then we will know what we want and what's good for us. Not everything, even if it's good, is what we need. I mean, I love peaches, but if I've got to choose between peaches and watermelon, I'm going to take watermelon.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. I don't like peaches, but right now, watermelon is my preference. So that's what it's about. We've got to figure out what works for us and find the balance and be at peace with that, because that is the discernment. It's the ease or the peace that comes from the heart. Anyway.
It is. And it's all happening right now. And it's, look, when was it? Yesterday was the end of that cycle. And now we're getting the trickles coming through from the sun as 3i Atlas starts moving away. So I think we'll see a lot of changes, and all individuals will feel that change because we're surface dwellers here on Earth. So we will start feeling those changes. And then you've got the solar flares and all sorts of amazing things that are happening. It will be affecting Earth. But I think those that are afraid of the light, be afraid, be very afraid, because that light is now so strong. And the great creator, the Lord, all great source, all of those are going to start, there's nowhere to hide anymore. Either embrace the light or be prepared to make changes to your life, because things are happening thick and fast.
And it's so true what you were saying earlier as well, that if you have consistently chosen the negative path, and that could be whatever it is. We understand there's positive and negative. This is a difficult time. And if your lessons are going to be coming up to you fast and furiously. And if they do, and when they do, not if they do, when they do, just see it for what it is. Ask what you need to gain through this experience, not what someone's doing to you and how the world hates you and how you turn yourself into a victim. You're not a victim. You're a warrior. We're all warriors of light here. We're heart warriors.
Absolutely.
And that's not weak. Yeah. Anyway, we're going to be definitely talking more about this stuff on the other channel as well. So tonight we have more of the royals, but specifically Andrew. We're gonna double back to Andrew Beverli.
Yes.
So
Yes.
Because I know there's so much in the last few years, you know, when we look at what's happened with Epstein Island, Andrew was the fall guy. To me, Andrew has always been the fall guy. Not that he's a victim, right? He's certainly not an innocent. There's no doubt in my mind about that.
Absolutely.
But he's definitely taken the brunt for the royal family and being the black sheep and the outcast. And, you know, they kind of now have to have this shamed child. Meanwhile, they are the biggest perpetuators of these atrocities imaginable. So, I mean, the double standards are just quite riveting, aren't they? I mean, you can just feel them.
And also the energy is moving so swiftly into him. And I keep watching some of the footage of him, and I can just see his energy is just shrinking, because he's realized that, you know, the former Duke of York, Prince Andrew, he really, when that had to be relinquished, his energy went all over the place. It became like a very big octopus with lots of tentacles everywhere, and it was almost screeching from his energy centers, because the one thing that he was really always proud of was that he was the Duke of York, and that he was the younger brother, and that he had all of these so-called accolades. But I think that that was for him. That was his personal tragedy. And since that happened, his energy body hasn't been able to stabilize. And I think this is where we see the issues coming in, where congressmen in America are going to be asking him a whole bunch of questions. But when I see the energy coming in from the side, that darkness shows he's pushing back. He's swimming backwards. He's saying, I don't want to go across the pond. I don't want to be answering questions from Congress. I don't want to meet the congressman. I'm not prepared to say anything, because we know that the throat chakra on him is gone haywire. It's coming through his mouth, popping out of his mouth, and whatever's coming out of his mouth is completely different. And he's able to say all sorts of different things, but that energy is going out, is scattered. And that is a very difficult place to be in, because he's not able to control what is coming out of his mouth. And as much as the light keeps coming down on him, the more rubbish he starts spewing. And he won't be able to keep his story straight, because this area where the throat chakra is, his mouth, third eye, and top area is totally chaotic. He's not able to move that forward. He's not able to allow himself to think and be in resonance and be in integrity with himself. He's so busy trying to cover everything up. He's so busy trying to find ways in which he can justify himself. He can find a way to say, well, actually, this is what happened, and I moved away from him, and I'm not really part of him, and this wasn't part of me. And the issue is going to be that these individuals in overseas and different countries, they are asking questions. But more so here in the UK, it's been revealed that he is under investigation now in London by the police. And that is one of the energies that's actually by the London police. And it's possible, when you start seeing how his energies change with the shudder, it's possible that he might face jail time. It's unlikely, but from that point of view, he's looking at it and thinking, you know, I am the sacrificial goat. I'm the goat that will be put forward as the one to be blamed. And he doesn't particularly like being the one that is going to be blamed. And what is quite obvious is that the energy he used to have coming in from the right, not from the left, but coming in from the right, and then going across him and then moving down the left and landing up in his knee and landing up in his foot, is the mother energy. So his mother was able to come in and protect him, send the energies, protection. But now what has happened is that energy is no longer there because she's obviously across on the other side. But then we've got all of the mothering energy down the left, which is now stuck in his knee, his left knee. And then he's got another set of energy by his foot on the left side. So this is where he's trying to move forward, but he can't. The other feminine energy as well, we spoke about, I probed a lot of Sarah Ferguson. And I mean, she has got a lot of unscrupulous energies because she's done all sorts of shenanigans. And those shenanigans were coming in. So when you see those energies coming in, you think to yourself, this is quite a tragic situation, because the one person he could always rely on was his mum. He was very close to her. So you had that energy. But then you also have the Sarah Ferguson energy, his ex-wife, that coming in as well. So when you see that, you realize that he's allegedly saying that he was going to pass around all these young ladies. All of that is going to be probed. It's going to be reviewed, probed, gone through with a fine tooth comb. And he is seriously, with his energy the way it is right now, he is heading towards a very depressed energy where he starts pulling his energy in, closing himself off. And also he's looking at banishment, because you've got the other energy coming in from the top and hitting him on his back area. And that is the banishment, moving him out, pushing him out, getting him away from Sandringham. So there's a lot more, I think, that's coming. And he could also be totally forced out of the UK. And certainly Fergie could also be forced out of the UK. We're seeing a lot of this unusual summonsing. So we know that Prince Andrew has been summoned to go to America to appear before Congress. So that's happened. So he's trying to backpedal. And the more I see that he's trying to backpedal, he's not being able to do that. And he's not able to talk about the future rules. He's not able to talk about anything about himself, Fergie, or anything that's happening around him. Because when he opens this throat chakra, basically rubbish comes out. And the problem is, whatever rubbish that comes out, he stitches himself up. Seriously, he stitches himself up. No matter what he says, you just have to look at his previous so-called press review where he was interviewed by Emily Maitlis and all of that. And he was done up like a kipper. Seriously, he was. So we've got all of that coming in. And unfortunately, he's really heavily in the news, and he will be in the news. And he's lost his mansion. He's lost a lot of his prince title. And I think part of that issue with him is, I was born a prince. I will always be a prince. And he's going to have to leave the Windsor mansion. He's going to have to leave Royal Lodge, and he's going to have to go ahead and find somewhere else to live, because the king has now passed a formal notification to say that this is what's going to happen. But what I find very interesting is, I think that he has the energy that he's got with his heart chakra area. Although there was a lot of red, a lot of anger. Seriously, like, this guy has gone crazy. I'm not prepared to do this, but he has made sure, which is very strange, that he has not been removed from the line of succession. Now that is very, very odd, because in the succession, he's eighth in line. We all know he's eighth in line. But when we look at where he is, it would require an act of parliament in the UK here. Parliament would have to go to Parliament, and it would have to be agreed and approved, and it goes through an entire process. It's a big process. And that particular application has not been progressed. So he's still eighth in line. He's still in the line of succession. But I think because he's been stripped of His Royal Highness, he's been stripped of all of that. And I think even though the Andrew red energy, where he's gone red ball, red stick, and and he's gone back to his brother, the king, to say, these are my demands. I want to stay in the line of success. This. He's given all of his, demands, if you like. Still, they're holding against him this aspect of, if you open your mouth in America, if you don't stick to at least some of the stories that you've been telling, we will make application to Parliament. We will apply for you to be totally stripped and removed as eighth in line to the throne. This is a totally different energy. This is a dark energy, a red energy, because this was came out of anger. And in a way, it's one of those hatred types of energies where they've got barbs on them. So sometimes you'll see if there's two brothers or three brothers that really dislike each other because of what's at stake. You see these swords and you see these arrows and you see coming out.
Are we looking at this energy? Yeah, that's more him and Fergie though, isn't it?
That's him and Fergie. So we've got, if you have a look, we've got, that's the Fergie energy with the toroidal field that's around her. She's still sending out those red energies. She's still trying very hard to control Andrew to do what is necessary. But she is now also removing herself from the situation, because I think she knows with the throat chakra, she doesn't really stand much of a chance. Because if Andrew opens his mouth and says what he thinks and what he feels, that huge red aura that we see around him, that terrific anger, particularly with him wishing the red anger that's around him. We've got this large one of the energy between him and Fergie, that's staying there. But when we look at the anger around him and all of the energy spikes around him, he's still stuck in that awful energy. He hasn't moved away from that energy at all. In fact, I would go as far to say that it's probably getting worse. And that is because Congress is really pushing upon him to say, we want you to come and answer these questions. We want you to be able to do this. I think the most that he would ever be able to do safely, and that's the operative word here, is safely. Because when you look at the bottom of this image, you've got a very big, dark ball that is coming in towards him. And that was predicted about 3 weeks ago when we first did the show. And we can see this big, dark ball, and then there's two bright pink energies. But that is starting to come. It's starting to move in towards him. And that is the one that carries the ball energy of the sacrificial goat. So there's always someone that is put forward as the fall person, as the person that is going to be the one that the royals utilize as the person that will take the brunt of everything. That big ball that we see at the end, at the bottom of the screen, that's right up to his knees already, and that was 3 weeks ago, that is now moving in very fast. And that is where it's going to move towards the end of the year. That big ball is going to be totally over and across all of his body, and it will take up the bottom chakras right up to where the heart chakra is. So he's got to be careful. He has to think, which is difficult for him because he just runs his mouth off. Think before you start saying anything, buddy, because what you say now, every word counts. Every word. You've also got the big orangey, bright orange, issues around his hands, where he's not able to grasp, where you try to grasp things to move forward, to make changes. That's not working either. And then if you look towards the right-hand side of the picture, we've got these black tendrils that are coming out. And these are like a culmination, if you like, of all of the black deeds, the dark deeds, the evil deeds, and all of these aspects that he personally has become part of. And when we start counting them, there's about 7 or 8 really big. We've got 1 or 2 at the top. We've got 1 sort of where his midriff is. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 at the bottom. So we let us say on average 10 really strong, dark tendrils that are coming out. And you can see that most of them, if you have a look at the bottom in line where his hands are, you will see a lot of these are strongly connected to the basal chakra. So the Kundalini energy, the sexual energy, the ego energy, and all of that is right at the bottom. So we can see that many of those are connected to those areas. And that is where the downfall comes in. It's very specific. Fergie, of course, still stays, still stays as connected to him. But I think she's also waiting. There's a comprehensive style with her where she knows that he's been stripped of his prince title. She knows he's going to leave the Windsor Mansion. She also knows that at the end of the day, the king can decide whether they apply to Parliament to formally remove him as being eighth in line. She knows that. So there is all this is part and parcel of all of the damaging allegations, and where he's going to be stripped further of all of his voluntary activities that he's doing in charities and all of those aspects. And I think what will happen to him is that he will now be just known as the Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. That's it. Nothing there. There's no prince in it. There's no His Royal Highness. There's no nothing. And that energy, with him being stripped of his royal titles and honors, that has really cut into his aura, cut into his energy body, and it has caused this big red angriness that we see with him. But he, I think what is odd, everybody keeps saying to him, oh, do you think that he would be open to allowing himself, and also would the king allow his brother to be open to federal conspiracy charges because of the JE person, or even worse, the trafficking type of charges. So we've got all of that still to come. If he stays with this red energy, and if he stays with all the black energy in the tendrils, he is going to leave himself open wide. That in itself is extremely, extremely dangerous, because if you look at who he's close to and the individuals that were around him, there are those that were survivors that have got through this and got through all types of alleged forms of abuse. But also there are individuals that are close to him when he was a majesty, and their sympathies towards him would have now changed. So he's going to have to be very careful who he names and shames and how he moves amongst these so-called, high society, because people won't be particularly open to meeting with him because he's not a high-profile royal anymore. He has fallen from grace. He's very angry. At the end of the day, that even in Australia, as far away as the Australian side, where the royals used to be very popular, they're going to be renamed he will be renamed and put into other scandals around the world. And this is what we see. We see all these other balls of energy that are coming towards him. We've got one big one at the bottom, but if you look at the back of the image, we have got loads of huge balls of energy and other further scandals, charges, claims, survivors, witnesses, individuals. And that's where we see that huge ball coming in as the goat, the sacrificial goat, because that is all part and parcel of the changes for him. And that's why I wanted to do an update on him today, because this is coming through thick and fast. They're majorly damaging. And, he's going to be out on a limb. It's going to be very interesting to see over Christmas what actually happens to him, where they end up putting this very, very, very angry ball of fire that he is. And of course, where he is, because he's attached at the heart chakra to the Fergie energy, they'll be pulling each other around, like a bull with a nose ring. That's the two of them. So we've got all these, how many big balls are in the back. Now, these are ones that are survivors, individuals that want to see his downfall, and more so, individuals that he crossed and individuals that he either poo-pooed and pushed aside and really made fun of. All of those big balls in the background, they all will become as large as the one at the bottom that we see, that is moving up his legs. That's the first one that's going to hit his energy body, and he's going to be reeling from that. So this tells a huge story. So it's a case of watch this space, because there's more to the Andrew energy than meets the eye. It's going to be a very, very difficult road for him. And I'm quite sure that he's going to get worse in that red, that rather red, almost like dark sun energy. We're going to be seeing a lot of that, and we're going to see that any of the updates that we get, there's going to be a lot of breaking news with him, and we're going to see the renewal of his energies, where people are not going to be saying positive things about him in America, in Europe, and particularly, Asia and even Australia too. So watch what's going to happen to him, and we can just tick it off as this awful situation starts to be revealed. And you're going to find, which is terrible for the children, Princess Eugenie, when she was seen, when I had a look at her and her energies, she's very subdued. Her energies are very closed down, and she's definitely not going to be saying too much. She won't contribute any further, because both of the children are very afraid of opening their mouths, because when they did the last time, and when they supported their father in going ahead with that interview with Emily Maitlis, it turned out to be absolutely annihilation publicly. I think it was being billed as one of the worst public scandals to come out publicly, where Emily was able to draw out that information from him, and I mean, he didn't do himself any favors. So I think we're going to find out a lot more. We're also going to find out that people that were around him, so for instance, like Royal Protection Officers particularly, I think they're going to be called in for interview as well with the London police. I think there's going to be a lot of questions around the flight logs with the Lolita Express and all of these, and there are people that are gunning for him. So we're going to hopefully we will start seeing some of the proof. What's interesting as well is this almost like, how can we call it? It's almost like holding him to ransom. So we will find that the Prime Minister of the UK, in his aura, he has decided that even if there was a parliamentary review and request, as long as he's the PM, as long as he's the Prime Minister in the UK, he has already decided he won't remove Andrew from the line of succession. But there's a big but. I mean, this but is a huge but, let's face it. This but is, if he goes to America and effectively causes a huge scandal worse than what he had previously, then I think that the Prime Minister will be forced to change his mind, and he might have to agree that he might have to agree. Depends what Andrew does next.
Well, I mean, I find that so interesting for a number of reasons, because just commenting on your last point there about if, I won't remove you from the line of succession as long as you don't make too much of a scandal in America.
Yes.
So that to me sounds like a bribe, or
it does.
whatever you call that.
It does.
That's basically what. Yes, totally. That for me is the payoff. So that's what I see there. The reason why he's been offered to stay in the line of succession is because If he opens up his mouth in America by saying X, Y, and Z, he's out cold, like Princess Diana, basically. There's nothing for him. So he's basically has to shut his mouth. Because if we look at all of these things and we look at how angry he is, I mean, one can completely understand why the man is so angry. His mother is a lizard who eats kids, right? We know the royals, and one can only but imagine how they suffered as kids. I mean, I don't even want to think about what his childhood must have been like in that family, right? So we know, I mean, those of us on these platforms know the royals are pedos. Very famous story of them with the 10 kids, or was it 10, maybe more, in Canada, the Native American kids that they took. I mean, so there's, and just too many survivors have spoken up against them. I can understand that there would, there can always be lies and bullshit. Yes, absolutely. We know that works both ways, but no. So he is the fall guy, and he is the one that has to bear the shame of the entire royal family. So he's the one that is, as you say, the scapegoat. We know the kids are groomed, right?
Yeah,
they're all groomed for their roles within the families. So he's been groomed to be the scapegoat. And I mean, absolutely, is he innocent? Oh, hell no. But for me, it's not about Andrew. It's about, as you say, the what he can, the secrets he knows. So he's been held on a very tight leash. He can only say X, Y, and Z. For me, it's them warning him not to shoot his mouth off, because if you do, or you lose everything. No, we won't kill you. That's too easy for you. We'll make your life a living. We'll make your life a living misery. You will live like a pauper, and we will throw you in a lunatic asylum, and we will
do something
make
like
sure
they
that
used to do. Yeah,
exactly.
but
So
this is
he's
it.
definitely.
They are the royals did not move fast enough. They were very, very slow in dealing with the issues with Virginia Giuffre. They were very slow in actually doing anything around the allegations or any of those aspects. And then what was worse is that, there is now coming to light across some of the people that I know in the press. I've known them for like 25 years. And I've been speaking to them and say, well, is there, because I know with the energies with him, because he's so cross. And when you are that cross, you drop the ball. And I think that you're going to find that he had asked the Metropolitan Police to dig up all sorts of stuff around Virginia Giuffre, around individuals that, had started to see things differently. So you've got people like bodyguards that were working for him years ago, and they then saw what was happening and said, I'm distancing myself from this. I don't want anything to do with this. I'm off. Anybody that was not with him, that was not taking his side, what we know is, and this is where they're digging up the dirt at the moment, is they're finding the emails, they're finding the information, and this is what it's going to start coming to light. He was making sure and trying to make sure that he could dig up all sorts of dirt on both Virginia Giuffre, but his bodyguards that not turned against him, but didn't want anything to do with what he was doing. And as such, he then countered them. Well, if you're not for me, then you're against me. And this is what he was doing. And I think because the royal family was so slow in trying to, come back, make a statement, say something, do something, none of the announcements happened that quickly. And that's when all of these bodyguards, individuals, and others ended up being able to say, well, actually, this is what I saw. Actually, this is what I know. I know that if somebody came to Buck Palace, and said, oh, I'm here to see Andrew, I'm his fiance, or I'm his girlfriend, or whatever, just go and pay the taxi cab and I want to go in and see him. They all knew that the Royal Protection Service and any of the other bodyguards, they dare not say no, because he would come out effing and blinding, calling them every name under the sun. So rather than have all this kerfuffle at the palace, they said, oh, for God's sake, just let this happen. So we've got loads of bodyguards, loads of Royal Protection officers that are now speaking out. So, there's all these announcements that will come out. They will try and play it down. But with that bright red energy, anger attracts anger. And that's where we're going with this. It will not be quickly settled. Definitely not. Not unless he brings his energy in, he cleanses, he clears it, and he closes it. And he has no intention of doing that.
I don't think he even knows he can do that, because when you look at them, they're all pretty much Satanists, and they do everything reverse to the way that we would do it. I think that he's literally been hung out to dry, and he knows it. There is no way out for him. That anger makes him powerless, completely powerless. And as you say, the only way out is to go within, right? So going within would mean that he would have to have a team of healers working with him.
Every day, every night,
retrieving those horrible memories that poor child must have experienced. Seriously, because let's never forget, at some point he was a kid too, who's been subjected to horrific SRA. I mean, we can only imagine what the royals go through. I'm not excusing it, right? But we seek to understand. So he would have obviously gone on and perpetuated those crimes. And of course, because he's Prince Playboy, was the one who's obviously the easiest one to be hung out and dried. But as I was saying, it's not just him, because if Andrew starts speaking, it's all of Epstein shenanigans and the royal shenanigans, because there's so much, if we just look at what Diana tried to bring out, right? And you can imagine how much Andrew must know then, and how much there is for him to hide away, not just about the family, but the entire monarchy. Because when one of these dominoes starts falling, it's not just going to be one guy, it's going to be an entire system.
A whole set of them.
But one,
but I think you've got the set 27 alleged victims of JE, and really they are all saying the same thing. If you have a look at each of the energy of these young ladies, now a little bit older ladies, they're all wanting justice. They're all wanting him to voluntarily travel to America to speak to law enforcement. And if you remember years ago when they started all this in 2019 and before then, he just totally ignored all the calls and, all the requests and all of those. They just, he just didn't want to know. He really didn't want to know. And I think that...
But don't you think also, sorry to interrupt you, that he was just so used to being protected? And he was so used to being protected and getting away with everything. But I also feel that at the time, the royals knew they needed a fall guy. There was too much smoke around what was going on. And he was I think he was probably groomed for this, to be the fall, Prince Playboy. And then obviously with his young girl desires while he's married and whatever, all of that stuff that played out. But, he really is the diversion for so much more. So, I just think that he was groomed for this role. He's the fall guy and he knows it. And he's kind of the screen for the entire royal family right now to hide their disgusting activities when no one was watching, or when they thought no one
When
was
they
watching.
thought no one was watching, because these events, there's lots of people that attend them, having been part of that many years ago when I was very young. But what I also, last week, when we were looking at the king and the Camilla energy, and what was very interesting there is that Camilla had spent a lot of time helping rape victims and helping, SRA victims and the CSA victims and all of those. And I think that some of her,
Camilla?
yes, she's very well known here in the UK. She's
okay. Hang on.
decades. Yeah.
We need to talk about that then, because that is super interesting. If she's involved with a lot of the SRA victims and CSA victims, that is super dangerous. I'm sorry, I don't care what anyone says.
It
When we
is.
know what the royals are, when we know what the royals are up to, and she's involved with that, no, that can't be that.
Keep the victims as close as possible. Keep the SRA victims as close as possible. And let's face it, you can't get closer than being in Camilla's pocket. So she has, I don't know whether she's openly said it yet, but I think she will. And I think that she will be saying things along the lines of, well, Andrew Mountbatten of Windsor was associated with JE. And I think that part of her anger towards the Andrew person is, well, this is getting in the way of her energies, where she's still, we know she's still trying to take on the persona of Princess Di, which, I mean, she's never going to be able to do that. But by her supporting the SRA victims and survivors, she is now going to be going outwardly and saying, well, actually, Andrew had this, pally friendship with JE, and that collaboration between those two as pals, as buddies, and walking through the park together, that is standing in her way of being able to help people that need her, those that are survivors from SRA and that. And I think that she has got a lot of concerns, but she's very opportunistic. Her energy is one of, well, if I can get further in what I'm doing and I can be shown as, somebody that is working with light and doing all these things, I can then utilize Andrew's relationship with JE and get some capital out of it. So that's coming as well. But at least we know, that he won't move to Sandringham until after Christmas. So we've got all of those weeks where, he will never be homeless, but he will have to move. He's going to move to a private estate in Norfolk anyway, which his brother, the king, is going to fund. So they will have the Sandringham, Christmas get together. And I would imagine that the press are going to be all over it, like a rash. But, if you look at it too, Andrew didn't join last year. He didn't go to Sandringham last year. He then went elsewhere. So I don't know what he's going to do this year. If he, with that heavily angry, awful toroidal field and aura, it's not a good idea for him to be going up to Sandringham and passing that awful energy. And I'm pretty sure that Camilla will have a lot to say as well. So,
well, I mean, not even think about what their energies could be looking like. I mean, it can be nothing short of absolutely bubonic.
Well,
anyway, but I want to go back to Camilla,
Yes.
Because no, there's something not right. I mean, okay. If we go back to last week's show where you spoke about her connection to Charles, and basically they've always, or for the longest time, had this connection between them, and pretty much Diana was the breeder with the right bloodlines who married Charles for the bloodlines. So Diana was really the breeder and was never meant to intend, or never intended to be in Charles's life long term anyway. So Camilla would be seriously connected to witchcraft, the satanic world, that sort of stuff. So there's not even a doubt in my mind about that. Okay. Now, I'm not assuming what happened to her or what didn't, but I think we know enough about SRA to understand that a lot goes down. So if she, I mean, that is just so hectic for me to hear that she herself has now wormed her way into working with survivors, trauma survivors, SRA survivors, CSA survivors, RSA survivors. She has absolutely got her finger in every pie. I have no doubt keeping them programmed or
triggered, even worse. Keeping them triggered. Tell me about what happened to you. Tell me, and I'm just going to listen. Well, let me just suck all that energy off you while you're reliving your trauma. Just go and do one, mate. Go on your bike. Terrible.
So, what organization does she work for? Please tell me more about that.
I don't know about all of them, but I know that there are some of the main ones. In the UK, she is either a benefactor or she is someone that is supposedly assisting. But I think any major, Google search will reveal where Camilla, which of the agencies she is part and parcel of, that she's trying to help and, make things better or do things that necessary to help the SRA, because that she disagrees. And she did always disagree with Andrew being a friend to JE, and whatever was happening and anything that was alluded to, she disagreed with, and it was rather distasteful for her. Now, whether that's her actual opinion or whether she has nefarious reasons for being involved with all of these other organizations, we don't know. But certainly, officially, her official line is individuals had heard her at some sort of a fundraising when she was asked privately in a conversation that had been overheard. And she had said directly, I don't approve of that relationship that Andrew had with JE. And it is actually causing issues with the work that I'm trying to do. So this is somebody that was walking behind and heard it. And that was what was relayed to me. So I thought, that's very interesting.
Excuse me. Isn't her husband Big Buddy, or wasn't her husband Big Buddy with Jimmy Savile and whatever else those others were? I mean, is that not standing in the way of her being known as an honorable person? I'm sorry, because we know by now those guys are far from honorable. So, she's just surrounded with too much of that nonsense. So there's no way that anyone is going to tell me that she's not getting in. I get that I don't think Camilla's innately evil. That's the thing.
Well, she wasn't. Remember when I did the plate when she was younger? If you remember, she had all the lovely colors. She loved her animals. She loved what she was doing. She had all of those lovely colors around her where she was trying really hard. Her aura was.
Is that her? Yeah. No, that's not her.
No, there was another one. It was a round one where there was all the colors. Yeah, that was it. That's her. That was where she started, because this is when she was very young. You can see it's like a teenager type thing. But then we see Charlie Boy coming in with the red circle, and then we saw her as a youngster, and then we saw her as she is now. So literally, that red color has been infiltrated into her. And he was never going to let her go. And this is what we see. To move the colors out onto the periphery. And this is where we see, again, as I said earlier, there was it looks a little bit like an octopus, and no offense to an octopus, but that's the best I can think of, is that there's those red energies. And basically, it has taken over. So she's in the position that he wants her to be in. So some of her,
and if you just think that Prince Philip was her father-in-law has been the main handler
Yes.
for child trafficking in South Africa.
Yes, he was.
So I can't imagine that she can think that Prince Andrew having a relationship with Jeffrey Epstein is such a bad thing compared to what her husband is doing. It's disgusting, all of them, and their pedo ways. But yeah, and I know, I mean, I've spoken to a number of survivors that have encountered him as well. Charles. I mean, not Charles, yes. Sorry, Charles.
Yeah.
But let's talk about Philip.
Prolific. And Philip, you know, he was sort of very involved with the Mountbattens as well. And when you look at his family members and those that have been literally taken out and sort of ended up being blown up and all these things, you can just see. And you look at some of the testimony, you know, when I was researching him particularly, there was a lot of testimony that came from Indian children and the Mountbatten family and everything that was happening, that the wild parties and how children and young people were provided, all of that was kept quiet, extremely quiet. Nothing was shared. It was kept quiet. Nothing was shared. Nothing came out about the Mountbattens. So if you start looking, I'd love somebody out there who's good at researching to do a book about all of the links, the Mountbattens, you know, what Philip was doing, what Andrew was doing, where Charles was, and how all of this happened, and how the Raj and India was involved, and then maybe try to get testimony from survivors that were part and parcel of this issue and had to suffer and go and do these things at these various huge parties, because there's many of them. I've heard through the grapevine over the years there was a lot of abuse that happened in India that they swept under the table and kept it very quiet.
Yeah, because they colonized India as well. No, there was a lot of stuff going on there in India. Absolutely
very sad.
Awful, that's for sure. Yeah, absolutely horrific. All the third world countries that they thought human beings were less than them were the ones they just treated with absolute disdain, right?
And it's odd that it's, you know, it's South Africa, it's India, and then Australia. And all of those countries had native indigenous peoples with amazing healing, with psychic ability, tremendously beautiful spiritual activities, you know, drums and tabla, beating tablas, and fires, and, you know, sadhus, and people that were incredibly advanced spiritually. And it's just for me, it's just odd to see you've got the Red King that's now part and parcel of these countries and is still very much part of these particular upper echelons. And you kind of look at it and you think, that was part of the plan for them, was to take over those countries, because not only did they have mineral resources, but they also had spiritual resources from the tribes and the native people.
I think that's the main thing, that they've been after the spiritual resources, and were the First Nation people.
They were very sad.
Yeah, and it's not the Celts, because I think they'd already kind of destroyed the Celts. Actually, if you think about Ireland, the Irish, the Scottish.
But Ireland particularly, did you see Ireland is Northern Ireland is now saying, we are taking all of the names where we've got Prince Andrew Drive or Prince Andrew Way or whatever they want. They've made a deposition to say they want all the streets changed. They don't care how much it's going to cost them. And the people are donating money. Get him off, get him off, get him off, get rid of it. We don't want, Northern Ireland does not want to have any of the lanes and roads and motorways or close or circles or whatever named after him. They want it all gone. And when I saw that, I've got some friends in Northern Ireland, and she sent me, her name is Petal, so cute. And Petal said, oh my goodness, look at what's happening. Everybody wants him out. They don't want his name anywhere. And I thought, gee, that's interesting. They at least, that country is taking a stand and saying, nope, we don't agree with it. Not just no, but hell no. Get it off. Take his name off the
Well,
street. It's going to cost them
I'm
millions.
really happy they're doing that, because that really does. At least it's one
Something.
guy. I mean, I hope those poor North Islanders know that, well, let's not go there, but at least it's something.
It's something.
At least it's something. Yeah. And that's I think what's important. But I think what's also interesting, when we're looking at, let's take a look, because if I'm looking at Harry, another one that's kind of been ousted, right? Harry and Meghan. Okay, let's maybe let's just check on Harry and Meghan. What is your take on Harry and Meghan?
Well, I think that the Harry and Meghan aspect is, if we look at the best way we can discuss that, is if we look at the unusual relationship that we saw between Andrew and Fergie. That is now the opposite way around with the two of them. The Meghan person has got that large claw type energy, where you've got the octopus going out, attaching it to the heart chakra, but also she's got a tendril going into his neck, and there's also a tendril going into the basal chakra. So she does control what he says, how he says it, and how it's going to be going forward, because
She's handler.
She is his handler. Yes,
that would sound to me very much like a handler. So she would most definitely then be his handler.
Yeah.
Yeah. What is your take on him?
I think that the level of weakness for him is significant, and I think that part of that is he knows well that the payout for him was to have her as a wife, but also to be able to bring through the souls and the energies of the kiddies that he's got. And at least with those, he does take some solace that, although he started that formal process and he was able to incorporate his children, wrap his arms around his children, she still pulls the strings. She is the mother. She pulls the strings, irrespective of how she had the children, what happened with the children. They're still, as they say, the blood of my blood. They are of her DNA. So from that point of view, she's launched her a very own assault on the royals. And she's very cleverly now watching to see what is going to happen with the so-called notorious royal family. Because one thing she does want to do, she's got it in for them. She really has it in for them. She hates them, and that's what her energy shows. She cannot stand them. And she's actually quite happy that Prince Andrew was stripped of his titles. But I think that she's going to start turning that and utilizing all of these little happenings. And she's very good at giving all of this to her PR people and saying, well, what can we make of this? How can we turn this to our advantage? What can we say? How can we release whatever? And that's where she's going with this. And it's quite an interesting aspect, because she has already got like a smear campaign that's out there, and it's a very difficult one, because it's one of those aspects that he's not able really to say too much, because if he comes out in support of his father, the king, she'll have him. So he's on a very, very tiny tightrope, and very soon he's going to be falling off those, because he in a way has been disgraced too. So he sees himself the way that Andrew's been treated. He sees himself in the same light too. He's also been disgraced. So you've just got to watch and see. It's possible that some of the
not
areas,
for the same reasons.
Not for the same reasons, but disgrace and embarrassment is still the same energy. Disgrace is a particular energy, that brown sticky one. disgrace and embarrassment is really, oh my goodness me, that's where he's at as well. So you've got all of those aspects, and he looks at the Andrew energy, and he looks at Princess Beatrice, and looks at all of these other aspects and says, well, I have a little girl as well. Could that be a similar situation to Princess Beatrice? So he's looking at it with different eyes, and he's watching very carefully to see, what do the main royals do? What does his father, the king, do? And how is that going to be? And could he be could he also be stripped of his title because of what his wife is doing? So this has now become a much wider scandal. And there's a lot of chaotic, confusing final days that will be coming up to his move out in Christmas, when the Andrew energy moves out of the Royal Lodge and he gets going. So we're going to see that all of that bitterness particularly, and his ranting and his raving, and he doesn't want to be confined to an area, because really they're trying to minimize the level of damage that he's going to do, because around his throat chakra with Andrew, it's popping like a popcorn machine. It's a boom, 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 all this energy. And at the moment, it's sort of like a funny color. But when it turns red and he starts thinking, I don't want to be confined, and he's very much one of these people saying, nobody's going to tell me what to do and what to say. And when that starts coming out of the throat chakra, oh my goodness, watch the sparks fly, because that is the character flaw between the three of them that unites Andrew, Harry, and Meghan. They all have the same attitude. They are divided at the moment, obviously, but when you look at that character flaw with the throat chakra and the energies, the three of them are pretty much the same. So Andrew, Harry, and Meghan trilogy. And just look at it differently now.
Wow. My cat's clawing my couch. She
Oh, your new couch. Oh, my Lord. Tell it to go. Stop.
She's so naughty. But anyway, absolutely. I can absolutely see that's happening there.
Yeah, they're same. And I think, Northern Ireland has changed the names of the roads. I guarantee you places like Canada, maybe even Australia, other countries that have got names that have been named after Prince Andrew and Sarah Ferguson and others, they're going to be changing it as well. But people are going to be like rats. They're going to be running away and saying, no, we don't want to have this. Let's distance ourselves. And that's happening. The same thing. The Metropolitan Police in the UK here, I think that energy is changing. I think that they realize they're going to have to do something. They're going to have to be proactive. And I think that they will start investigating Andrew. I don't know whether he would be able to go to jail. I doubt it, because I think the king will step in. But I think that there's a lot of these cowboy lobbyists that they just will not represent Andrew because of the way that he is.
Yeah.
And then you mustn't forget, there's a lot of information out there with Andrew, with the JE person, the Maxwell person, the Weinstein person. They were all at the Royal Lodge. They've all been together. So this is where the disgrace is like a black goo that's just spreading and spreading and spreading. So it's going to be a case of watch the space. And Harry and Meghan are worried at the moment whether they feel that the general public and the feeling worldwide is that they deserve the same fate as Andrew. So this is going to be a very interesting thing.
Wow. Okay, I think we're going to just answer this last question here. Beverli, are the royals lizards or they reptile human hybrid? I'd love to hear your take on that.
From what I can
Phoenix
see,
Blue,
human hybrids.
thank you, babe. Thank you for the super chat. Appreciate you. Sorry, carry on, babe.
From what I can see, they're hybrids. They have various levels of DNA in them, but they're not.
Yeah.
I disagree that they are pure reptilian. No, I think they're part bred. There's some that have a level of reptilian in them, because to be able to, to be able to do what they're doing and not think anything of it, then the reptilian brain is engaged. So there is that hybridization. And we all know the hybridization is swept amongst the world anyway. But I don't think they're purebreds. That's my view.
Yeah. I think, there's definitely a lot of hybridization that's happened, and they were probably of the first bloodlines that they started hybridizing, if that's a word.
It is actually. I think
Right.
it might be a word. It might be in one of the new dictionaries, because I've seen it used quite a lot.
Oh, wow. Okay. Wow. Super, super, super duper interesting. So I'm going to say thank you
Oh, it's a pleasure as always, Chanti.
Tonight. Really interesting information on the royals, and what's just by reading their energy, that's what we can see. Makes a whole lot of sense. So I want to invite you guys, for those of you who didn't catch our earlier announcements, as of tomorrow, Beverli and I are starting on SOULutions with Chanti. So go and join my channel, SOULutions with Chanti. We're doing spiritual forensics, and every week we're going to be putting a magnifying glass on some of the past cases, present cases that have been happening both locally here in South Africa, but that have really also gotten worldwide acclaim. We're going to be looking at the Menendez brothers,
Yes.
F.J. de Klerk, our old president, a lot of the politicians, the station strangler, they believe worked on that. So a lot of cases like crime, really crime, and we're going to be shedding some light on that. So spiritual forensics, we're going to be shining our little spiritual lights on these things.
Love it. We will see
So
what comes up,
us.
and
We'd
then
love to have
already
you
some of
guys.
the things I'm like, whoa. Yes.
Absolutely. So
till tomorrow then.
Go and join us.
Tomorrow.
Absolutely. Is there anything you want to just say in ending, closing off?
I think just,
this evening?
keep an open mind, and remember during this time that the energy is healing everybody, and that bringing things to the fore, you're going to have things brought up within yourself, and this is all part of the healing. And that I obviously on a Sunday now, I'm doing the Sunday blue light healing, which is free for all. You can just put it in the comments and say, I'd like healing for my brother, for my auntie, for my uncle, or for myself, or my whoever, and even your wee doggies too. You can put them into the chat, and I do an hour of healing on Sunday, which is sending out the blue light. And sometimes we get lucky and we see these lights go flashing across the screen. And if you want to book private sessions for healing, then of course go on to Awakening Academy, my website. But you can always come for free on a Sunday.
Yay. You're so lovely, Beverli.
Oh,
the world is a better place with you in it.
Oh, you're so kind to me. I can't believe it. We've known each other, that you've known of me in South Africa for so many years. And, I've been out of South Africa now for 26 years. And you already knew what I was doing and how I was doing it some 35, 40 years ago. Lord.
From yonks ago, many moons ago.
Yonks.
No, I definitely knew you. And I never forgot your name for some reason. A lot of these
That's
people,
we had work to do.
Yeah, exactly. So, we're doing it. You see, I've been waiting for you.
What do you like? Oh, Hanada.
I like to think of it that way. Okay, so that's
I
my
think
story.
It's a good
I'm
one.
sticking it. And don't you dare shatter my illusions here. So
I
stop
won't.
it already.
I won't.
Okay. Okay, guys, I'm so excited. We're going to see you tomorrow over at SOULutions with Chanti. So please check us out there. And subscribe to the channel, like, share, subscribe. Get this information out there. We really, really, really do need to get this info out there. And keep the vibe alive.
Yep. Reach for the
And
stars.
yeah, absolutely. But keep your
Thanks,
feet on the
everyone.
ground.
Yeah.
Wasn't that David Gresham?
That was
Reach for the
David
stars.
Gresham. Oh God,
David Gresham.
David
top-
Gresham. He was at Cavalier Records, and then he brought out his own record label, which is when I
He
knew
was a
him in SA.
yeah, he was a DJ on the radio. He used
Yeah,
to be, yeah.
funny chap, strange energies, you know. I met him at Cavalier
Keep
Studio.
your feet on the ground and reach for the stars.
Oh,
That
I
was
remember that. Good Lord.
yeah.
Blast from the past. My word.
Turtle. I like those guys from LM Radio. But
Yeah.
anyway, we will actually find out more about those guys from LM Radio as well.
That's a good idea. You like Tony Sanderson, because Tony did a lot of good stuff.
Yeah, no, he was 5FM. Tony Sanderson was 5FM.
He was, but he also used to moonlight. He was moonlighting a lot.
Is he still around? Where is he?
Tony?
He's still around.
Yeah, I spoke to him when was it, about 4 or 5 years ago? Because he was saying that he was going to try and start his own radio station. He was applying for one of the licenses, and I spoke to Tony at the time. He'd moved. He wasn't in Joburg anymore. Okay. He was down at the coast. Whoops, there goes.
Oh, right. Okay. Oh. Well, maybe find out where he is, Bev, and do a show on his radio station. That'll be cool.
Yeah, well, if he got a license, that would be lots of fun. Because originally he was with Mnet and SABC, and he asked me to come and launch his very, very first show, which was called Late Night Live. And I was on the very first pilot, which was it was too funny for words. He got someone to try to bite me, which was just hysterical, because I could see this energy going with this person. And this guy sort of launching forward. And I just went in, really? You're going to do this now? You're going to come at me with teeth? Do you not see the size of my teeth? Do you really want me to show my teeth? And Tony was like, oh, what? Yeah. Then he said, no, cut. And they took it out. He said, can you just play along? I said, all right, I'll play along. Don't make me show my teeth, because I'm gonna.
We don't want that, my gosh.
No.
Oh, lovely. Well, we'll see you guys tomorrow. Yay. And that'll be at 7:30 Central Africa time, which is roundabout whatever the time is now. 15 minutes earlier than what.
It's 5:30 in the UK. GMT.
5:30 GMT. And 7:30 Central Africa time, CAT. Cat. Right. Okay, everybody, God bless you all. Take good care of yourselves. Keep your feet on the ground and reach for the stars.
There, you've got it.
Okay, bye.